I am Miss Donicia Mears, and I am the one of the fifth form principals of business teachers, and this is the first class that we are having. I just want to officially welcome you guys. So we get right into what we have planned for today. Um, I just want you guys to take note of some things first, though. My classes are Wednesdays from 3 to 4 p.m. and my office hours are 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. I will be posting in the chat room which particular topic I'm teaching for the day, and I will only be teaching a maximum of 25 students, and in that case I am going on a first come first serve basis. I will also be going in the order of the syllabus unless you are requesting a particular topic to be taught, or if you're having difficulty with something, I will present it or prepare a lesson for it. So I would suggest coming or returning to the class weekly if you can. All right, so before we get into the actual topic for today, I just want us to understand these terms, and these are things that CSE asks us to do when we have an exam. So they usually ask us to outline, identify, differentiate, describe, evaluate, and explain. So I just want to go through the definitions and probably give a few examples of them. So the first one we have here is to outline. And it is basically a summary of all the available information about a topic in a logical order. And when you're outlining something, you should just give the main points and do not, add in any additional details. So when they ask you to outline, they usually require a short answer. So if I had to ask somebody in class, outline 3 problems associated with online school or online learning. Outline 3 problems associated with online school. Three problems. If I ask you to outline. Okay, then I will give my examples that I have. To outline 3 problems associated with online school. I would say it is difficult to focus in online school. That's point 1. It is less interactive and engaging, and technical problems sometimes often take away from class time. Then the next thing that we have is to identify. And identifying is simply pointing out and describing the main ideas in a short and coherent way. So if I ask to identify 3 features of a smartphone, I would say something like it is small and compact. It is the size of my hand. Additionally, a smartphone has touch screen where you press particular characters on the screen to use it. And lastly, smartphones are durable as they can last up to 5 years. The next term is to differentiate, and this is basically self-explanatory. You're just recognizing or noting the difference between the 2 things. So if I asked you to differentiate between a chef and a doctor, what would you guys tell me? And for those who came in, we're just going through some important terms that we should know when we are answering questions from CSE. We went through outlining, identifying, and now we're at differentiating. You're basically showing and recognizing the difference between the 2. So I would say that a chef is employed to cook meals, and a doctor is employed to treat and diagnose persons. Then the next term is to describe, and this is basically you're outlining and giving details about characteristics of what they're asking you for. So you're not only stating the main points, you're giving details about the characteristics of what they're asking you for. The next term quickly is to evaluate, and they're basically asking you to form a judgment on the matter at hand, and you have to give reasons why. So they want you to go into the pros and cons. So if I had to tell you to evaluate a supermarket, and you go into the supermarket and the layout is nice, the air condition is nice, they have a variety of products. So you ask the cashier, for example, what is the price of XYZ, or what is the price of this item, and she, carries you on badly. She is very unmannerly and all that stuff. When that happens and you come out and I ask you, well, can you evaluate the store? You would say something like, well, the store is, the layout is nice. It has very nice aesthetics. However, they need to work on customer service, because it could give the business or the supermarket a bad reputation. Now, the last term that we were looking at, and before we move on, is to explain, and they're basically asking you to clarify a particular topic. So when you're answering these questions, you should imagine or pretend that you're writing to somebody that knows absolutely nothing about this topic or this concept or this idea. And you also must provide as much detail as possible and give definitions for any jargon or key terms when used. So I hope the definitions that I just went through were clear. And now we're going to get into today's topic. So we're looking here at Mrs. Prim, just run an example. And Miss Prim, she has an idea. She wants to start a firm, a manufacturing firm, which manufactures printers, as you can see here. She's saying here in the Caribbean, we often have to outsource everything. There's nothing here. There are no companies here that actually manufacture printers. I want to start a business in manufacturing printers. And this is time for you to interact. What are some of the things that she will need to start this business?
Money.
Money. What else?
Workers.
Yes, workers. Anything else? Pardon me? You said products? Yeah, so products, money, workers. Anything else? I see Nicklon had his mic on. I didn't hear you properly.
I said resources.
Yes, resources. So basically everything you all said is correct. So she'll need money, she'll need workers, she'll need products to start this business. All right, so as you see, she'll need workers. She also need things like equipment. She'll also need natural resources, a factory. She's going to need money, yes, and machinery, as I said. So these things that she needs to start the business, that she will need to start the business, are called the factors of production, and they include land, labor, capital, and enterprise. And these resources, these are the resources people use to produce goods and services. So that is the formal definition of factors of production, the resources that people use to produce goods and services. So the first one that we're going to take a look at is land. And these are also known as natural resources. And you can say that these are basically the gifts of nature used in the production process. So if, for example, in Mrs. Prim's case, she would probably need to use something like aluminum, something that can be, I guess, converted into metal. She's going to need water, when even at work where you have like persons may want to use the bathroom, all that stuff. That these things here, the gifts of nature, are needed to produce goods and services. So the first factor of production is land, and note that it is in the also known as natural resources. Then we have labor. Somebody had mentioned workers, and that's basically the same thing. And this refers to all the physical and mental contributions of an employee. So you have a factory worker, you may have the cashier. I also want us to note that someone like an accountant for the firm is a also falls under labor because they have to use their mental capabilities, their mental capacity to record and you know record transactions and bookkeep and all that stuff. They have to do all this stuff, and so without them, the firm could run into problems. So it is important that we know that it's not only persons that do manual labor, but also persons that you know accountants, marketers, those persons. So this is the next factor of production. Anyone knows the next factor of production that or another factor of production before I move on?
Capital.
Yes, capital. And this refers to the human-made equipment required to produce goods and services. It is all the man-made items that go into the production of the firm. So it is machinery, buildings, paper, etc. So the difference between this and natural and land is that this is the human made equipment that is required to produce the goods and service. So it's human made. So something like water is not capital. Something like wood or like a tree bark is not a fact. Is not a capital because those things are gifts of nature. However, these ones are human made. So I want us to bear that in mind. The last and final factor of production. Does anyone know that? Enterprise? Yes. Yes, it is enterprise. And you see Mrs. Prim here. This factor utilizes all the other factors in order to make profit while taking risks. So the entrepreneur, they utilize the land, the labor, and the capital, and they make it work so that they can obtain profits. And they're also taking risks because you're starting a business. You may start and you may invest all these factors into the business, but you may not make profit or it is not something that somebody wants. So you're taking risks. So it's having an idea of how to use the land, labor, and capital to make profit. Is everything clear so far?
Yes, miss.
Oh, okay, great. So I have a Nearpod exercise for you guys. Let me pull it up. And this is basically asking you about the natural resources in the Caribbean. The instructions are you're going to match them to their respective islands. You could type in joinnearpod.com, and you just have to type in this code. And when everybody gets on, I will start. It's just a fun activity. So you can let me
So you
know
could
when you're
send,
on. Pardon me?
you could send a link. You could send a link in a group chat, please.
I could set, okay. I'll see if we can do that because ready, Fit Farm, POB. Alrighty. I I don't like I am in class now and I don't know like when I press the let me show you all. When I press the chat thing here is not um opening. I had that problem, that issue from before. So I don't know if anybody could tell me quickly how I could paste it in the chat because it's not opening. Uh,
Scroll up to the chat.
I want to post it in the Fifth Form Principles of Business, but anytime I click it, it's not allowing me to.
You have to scroll up some more. It has two different chats. Above that, somewhere.
Oh, this one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Right. So I posted it in the chat, and you guys can let me know when you have joined. Three persons are on. That's everybody. I see. Okay, anything, and Alex. Alex is joining. Okay, everybody
Yes, yes,
is
yes,
on.
see me.
All right. So let me stop streaming and share this screen. All right. So I'm gonna start the activity now. So you have to match the resources to where there are farm found in the Caribbean. Have 3 minutes. Have 3 minutes. 2 more minutes to go. A minute, about a minute 30. Everybody finished?
Are you finished?
Okay, that's okay.
I I finished too.
Okay. And Niklon, are you finished?
I said I got kicked out.
Oh, okay. So you would you like to start over or we got 34 seconds remaining. Two, one, and time is up. All right, so I guess you all would have seen where these resources are found, and we're looking at that introduces us to the different resources that are found here in the Caribbean, right? The different resources that are found here in the Caribbean, and you can see that I have a table here. We have the different resources. Um, Bauxite and alumina could be found in Jamaica. Cement could be found in Barbados, Dominica, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, and you all can see. I will upload these slides to the classroom, not to the classroom, to the chat room, so you can use for revision purposes. So, what would you all say are the natural resources in the Caribbean as a whole? Holistically speaking, what would you say are the common resources that we have? Something that we share.
Fish?
Fish, yes. Anything else?
Sugarcane.
Yes, sugarcane.
Water?
Water. Well, it's not. I guess so, but it's not something that you know. It's not that we don't use it. Yes, we can say water. We can say water for argument's sake. Anything else?
Fruits.
Yes, fruits. So all of those things are correct. But one of the main things that we have here in the Caribbean are beaches and parks, resorts, all of these things, because these resources allow us to have tourism as a industry, as a main one of the main sources of income. And when I saw this, when I was doing research and I saw this, I was shocked because I was saying like, the same fruits, sugarcane, fish, they're all common, but it's actually with along with those things, tourism. Most persons, well, most of our income in the Caribbean is from tourism, and most persons come to the Caribbean so that they can experience or relax on our beaches and have fun at our parks and other resorts that are available. And that is hotels, villas, restaurants, etc. So, oh, I had another Nearpod exercise, and it was for you to, I don't know if it's still here, but it was for you to identify some of the places of interest in your country. Would you like to approve student comments before they're posted? No. So I'm going to copy this link and paste it back into the chat room. And I want you guys to tell me some of the places of interest in the in your particular country. I will add mine. Let's see if somebody. Okay. And I can put a picture. This one looks better. So you can share with me or share on the collaborate board some places of interest in your country. I'll start. I posted the place and a picture of the place. So you can do that as well. Let me share. Put my screen on their board. Right. So some places of interest in your country that tourists would like to come and visit or is a big tourist attraction in your country. Here in Barbados, one is Harrison's Cave. Yes. Animal Flower Cave. And that's in St. Lucie. Oh, the training place. You mean St. Nicholas Abbey. How about Alex and Rowdy and Nick Lawn and yeah, share some places of interest
Yes,
in your.
I
Pardon
would say
me.
Granance Beach in Grenada. Granance
Gra-
Beach in Grenada.
Granada's Beach in Grenada.
Yes, I would say um the Anadel waterfall in Grenada.
Oh, okay, the waterfall in Grenada. Okay, it's nice to hear. Oh, somebody said the crane. But it's nice to hear the other places of interest in Grenada. Kai said the crane, the crane, and that is a hotel here in Barbados. But yeah, these places here that were placed on the screen, that Jane's and Kai placed on the screen, are places of interest here in Barbados. Um, so yeah, so we'll get back to the lesson now, and let me share my switch the screen back to the presentation. Alrighty. Right. So these are sectors in the world that benefit from the natural resources in the Caribbean. So the persons in the world that produce goods from metal, persons that produce goods from construction, persons that use suppliers of fishing equipment and machinery. So these persons would also use the resources in the Caribbean to manufacture these pieces of equipment and machinery. We have restaurants and food shops, um, firms around the world that do metal refining and smelting. Then we have suppliers of agricultural equipment and machinery. We also have drink manufacturing and food processing. So these sectors here utilize the natural resources from the Caribbean. And here you can see somebody had mentioned sugar cane, and that is something that can be found in almost all the Caribbean countries. We have fish, we have aluminum, and they have this is supposed to be foil paper, but yeah, we have cement and we have coconut. So these settlers around the world use these items here, and some other items that are found are you would say that they are originally from the Caribbean, and these are used to produce things around the world. So now we're moving into production versus productivity. And does anybody know the difference? Before I move on and get into the definitions, the difference between production and productivity.
Well, guess, but production is like all the materials and things to produce capital, all that stuff you gotta get. And then
Mm-hmm.
productivity is how well it you get it, or how well the labor or whatever performs, I guess.
Yes, that's basically it in a nutshell. So production is a process. So you go through a process of using the factors of production, and productivity basically measures the production that occurs in the firm. So we have here a formal definition that production involves making resources more valuable. And I want us to take note of that word valuable. It uses the resources to make things more valuable. Because if you had a tree, tree bark, for example, and you probably sell, let's say you sell that one tree bark for, like, let's say argument say $200. When the furniture firm comes and they change that particular tree bark into a nice chair, a nice dining room table, it is not going to cost, or it's not going to have the same value of the original tree trunk. You're placing more value or adding value to the resources. It is the process of making or manufacturing goods and products from raw materials or components. In other words, production takes the inputs and uses them to create an output which is fit for consumption. So that's self-explanatory. They're gonna make things so that people can consume them, whether it be an individual or household or a business. Um, and this good or product has value to an end user or a customer. And another definition, it is the process of transforming the inputs into outputs. So here is the production process and how inputs are made into more valuable output. So we have the inputs, and you will do your research, you have your capital, labor, materials, and obviously energy from your workers or even your machinery. And they go through the production process, and in upper six you will learn about that. You have the input, the throughput, and the output, and these goods and services are called outputs. So productions, we have to note that many operations are usually done to add value when processing resources, and operation management is therefore the term that describes managing these activities. So in a firm where there are many persons doing different things, you must be able to manage these operations, or it can get out of hand, or it can be inefficient, or whatever the case may be, but you must be able to manage your resources, your work, the production that goes on. Is everything clear so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So right here we have, as you can see, this is an example. We have a chef, and he owns a pizza parlor, or he owns a pizza shop, and he creates a variety of pizzas ranging from pepperoni, Hawaiian, not vegan, vegetable pizza. And here you can see that we have the inputs. So these are things like flour, we have the pepperoni, we have sweet peppers. I think this is supposed to be sauce, and he has cheese. So these items here, along with Mr. Chef here, are going to be used and manufactured and processed to make a pizza. And we know, based on a definition, that you cannot go into if you go into a pizza shop and the person just gives you flour, you're going to be like, that's not going that is not what I call for, because the flour by itself does not have the value that the pizza would have. So they're going to use all of these things here to create something that is valuable. We're now on to productivity, and this is basically a measure. Remember, I had mentioned that it is a measure of production. So it is It measures how much of the output can be produced from a given level of input. So remember, the inputs are things like the cheese, the flour, the sweet pepper, and even the chef, and also the machinery, because these are, you can call these factors of production are the inputs. So we would want to know, you could say something like 1 kilogram of cheese can produce 5 pizzas. One cook can produce 15 pizzas per hour, and one oven can bake 10 pizzas per hour. So it is the measure of how much output can be produced from a given level of input. So a unit of input is said to be productive. It is if it can produce a relatively large output. So if you have a small piece of cheese and you can make that small piece of cheese produce um, 10, 20 pizzas, you would say that this piece of cheese is productive. If you say that if you have a one cook and this cook could produce 15 pizzas in an hour, or 20 pizzas or 25 pizzas in an hour, you would say that this one chef here is productive. And the same thing with the oven. You have one oven that can bake how many ever pieces, 20, 30 pieces per hour. You would say that this piece of equipment is productive. So I want us to note something also, that productivity increases. So you can see here the arrow says it rises when the resources are used well. Productivity rises when resources are used well. So when that goes back to operation management, you need to manage the production processes so that you are using your inputs efficiently, so that you can have high levels of productivity. So if we understand that productivity is the measure of production, how much output can you get from 1 unit of input? I guess that keep happening, sorry. So if the chef had to ask himself, how many pizzas can one chef or can I make in 1 hour? Could anybody tell me what they think the formula for that would be to work it out?
Can you repeat that, please?
What would you say is the formula? So if you had to calculate um how many pizzas a chef could make in 1 hour, what would be the generic formula for that? Like, how would you work that out? What do you think the formula would be?
Divide something by 1 hour. It says.
Not quite, but yes, you have
Well,
to divide.
I would say so. We'll see how much you make in 5 minutes or
Mm-hmm.
1 minute, however, and then times it by divide how much you make in 5 minutes by hour. Like, say for example, if it's 5 minutes, that's
Mm-hmm.
60 minutes in 1 hour. So divide 60 by 5, you get 12, and then it
Mm-hmm.
times that by how much hours.
How much
Understand what I
pizzas?
mean? I know
You
if
mean
I'm
how
making
much
sense.
pizzas? Like,
Yeah,
okay, yes, I
yeah.
guess that's a long way of calculating it. Um, so you would see how much pizzas you can make in 5 minutes, and then you would time that. You would divide that by how many minutes are in an hour. Then you would multiply that by the amount of pizzas he actually makes in the hour. That's what you're saying. All right, I said it's 5 minutes to make a pizza.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a long way of working it out, but the simple way is basically you're dividing of your quantity of output. So the five um let's say that you eat 20 pizzas, and you would divide that by the one um the 1 kilogram of cheese. But one is not a good example. So let's say we're using 2 kilograms of cheese. Or if it said that the chef produces 20 pizzas in 1 hour, and that was one chef, you would divide the quantity of the output. So the 20 pizzas divided by um the one chefs or the two chefs or whichever one. So I have an example here. Remember, it is the quantity of outputs divided by the quantity of inputs. So let's say in 1 hour, two chefs can produce, let's say how many pizzas? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is supposed to be 8 pizzas, not this is 8. Yeah, this is 8. So quantity, so you have two chefs. This is the inputs, and we have outputs. And the output would be the pizza in this case. And the two chefs would be the input. So what would be the answer per hour? Usually when you're dealing with labor, you talk about per hour. How many things per hour? The question will usually tell you, the person or this amount of inputs give you this amount per hour. So if you wanted to find out the productivity for this particular setup right here, what would the answer be? Pardon?
Since it's 8 pizzas and 2 chefs,
Mm-hmm.
it will be 4 pizzas per chef every hour.
It would
Is it?
be,
I have a
yes,
question.
yeah, it would be that. Yes, please. I think that's Kai, because I can't see the discard.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of this question, does both of the chef made combined in 1 hour?
Yes, both of
Wait,
these, yeah. In 1 hour, two chefs. You have two chefs at the pizza, the counter top, and they are making pizzas.
okay, and what exactly is it? Some value or
And what exactly is what?
the productivity, like the value of the product?
Oh, the productivity. Remember, the productivity is the measure. It measures how much. It basically measures the output of the firm given the inputs. So you would say that
And the input is hour or two chefs?
the input would be the two chefs. You can't input an hour. It just takes the two chefs 1 hour to create 8 pizzas. So as I said, I can't see who said the 4 pizzas per hour per chef, but because I can only see my um the screen that I'm using to present. But yes, it is 4 pizzas per hour, and I want to note that the 4 pizzas are produced per hour by one chef. So chef one produces chef one would be producing two, and chef two would be producing two. So 4 pizzas are produced per hour by 4 pieces are produced per hour by one chef. Y'all are clear?
Yes, miss.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
great. So so we're gonna look at how can we improve productivity. Um, Anybody would like to give me some insight on that? How can I improve the amount of outputs I get from what I input?
Change the strategies and methodologies.
Yes,
Like
change this.
increase the amount of labor.
Yeah, somebody says change the strategies and the methodology the methodologies if I hear correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then somebody else was saying something.
Increase labor.
Well, yes, that I will touch on that if anybody shortly. But anybody has anything to add? I guess that's a no.
Well, since
Uh,
output
uh.
output over input, if you decrease the input, you should get little, and that'll make no sense.
Well, if you decrease the input, you should get. Well, you would say it wouldn't be that you're decreasing the input per se, but if you're using less, because remember the whole purpose of a business is to make profit. So if the firm has to purchase less um, cheese or less flour for them to make 20 or even more pieces, that would be a good thing for the firm because they have a low cost of production. So if you getting 20 pieces out of one block of cheese, that's a great thing actually. That is a great thing. But just to touch on the thing with get more workers, something that is okay. You can say yes, get more workers. However, that can be problematic because you may hire more chefs, for example, and you may be using two chefs, and these chefs are producing you know 20 pieces per hour or 8 pieces per hour. So you decide, you know what, this is looking good. That these chefs are doing well. Let me employ about 5 more chefs, and you have the same counter space, you have the same kitchen, you have the same ovens, you have the same other resources. What do you think will happen in that kitchen? Do you think that they are going to productivity will increase?
It would decrease because it would be crowded and other people would be bashing into other people, I guess. They
Yes.
also need to increase the building and stuff like that, I guess.
Yeah, so it is not necessarily always a good thing to increase inputs, and that is especially when it comes to labor because, as you said, you will have the 8 chefs, no, it will be, well, 7 chefs in the kitchen, and they'll be butting into each other, probably trying to, like, I want to use the rolling pin now, and somebody else got it, and that holds up productivity. So it doesn't have necessarily to do with the if you increase your labor, that can be problematic. That can be problematic. So we have that we're going to organize work more efficiently, and this is to reduce the waste of time and resources. So um, as the as I can't remember her name. That was, let me see. Kai, Kiana, which one? Somebody was saying,
Kiana.
right, Kiana was saying that you have to put strategies in place and methodologies in place so that you can have more productivity so that the things could be used efficiently. So you don't want to waste time because wasting of time means you're losing out on money. And when you are not working efficiently, you also can um, waste resources. We can waste resources because things in um, for example, the restaurant and the kitchen, things get easily spoiled because they're dealing with things like vegetables and meat. So you want to use them efficiently. Um, Using more productive and advanced resources. This has to do with, improving on technology. Probably some of the machinery. You don't want to use anything that is obsolete because that can decrease or hinder the productivity rate. We have training employees, so you may not necessarily want to hire more employees, but you can train them so that they will be able to probably do more than one thing when it comes to making the product. So let's say in the same pizza, probably you don't want that your employees only know how to probably chop up um, do you call it? Chop up the onion and the sweet pepper. You want that they know how to operate the oven and stuff like that. So you may want to train them in that area so that you can increase productivity. You can also use approaches to motivate staff. And I don't know if you all would have done it yet, but we know that motivation is one of the topics that we will eventually cover. So you have to motivate your staff because when your staff members or your employees are motivated, they're going to do their work rather than if they were just bored and doing the same thing over and over and over and you know produce and operate at a low level. And at this point here plays into the second point. You're going to use more automation and computerization. So instead of you using a calculator, for example, you may want to use the cash register, or you could even upgrade to the computer ones so that productivity can increase. And we will continue from here next week. Next week, Wednesday, we're going to talk about why productivity is important.